Hi FGBers, and welcome to our new Facebook Live series, The Feed, where we elevate and discuss some of the most popular discussions and posts in the Fairygodboss community. Our host, Liv, couldn't be here today, so we're sending her lots of well wishes, and you're all stuck with me instead. My name's Una, and I'm a member of the editorial team, and I'm here with our first ever guest, our very own Georgene, the CEO and co-founder of Fairygodboss. How's it going, Georgene?
It's great to be here.
Awesome.
I love this chance we have to talk about the most popular and interesting conversations that women are having in our community.
Me too. I am so excited that we have this chance to really dive a little bit deeper into what women on our site are excited to talk about. So without further ado, do you want to go ahead and hop into the first post?
Let's dive in. This is a timely post that Tatiana left. She says that I cried during my performance review a few years ago. It is performance review season. And she says, I'm not usually quick to cry, so please tell me I'm not the only one who's had this happen to me.
Yeah.
So Una, can you relate? Have you cried during a performance review?
So I've never personally cried during a performance review, but I feel like I really understand the sentiment. I feel like if you care about your career and about your reputation, it's something that you spend every day doing.
Right.
You spend a lot of time on it, you're really developing this relationship with your manager. And if you hear something you aren't expecting to hear that you don't want to hear, I understand getting a bit emotional about it, and I think we all just express our emotions in a different way.
Yeah, and Tatiana got a lot of support. Almost 30 people weighed in on her, her experience, and some people definitely talked about how they cried because they had, encountered a bad boss or a piece of news that they didn't like. And I don't think it just is confined. The issue of crying at work is very specific and interesting for women because it's a stereotype that women are emotional at work or too emotional, and you should keep your emotions and personal life at home. And so I think that women get sort of overly criticized or penalized for showing their emotions at work, whereas men, whether they're crying or not, might show emotion of different kinds, like anger, and that's more somehow socially and professionally acceptable.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that emotions at work is just something that happens, and everyone's kind of faced it in their own way.
Right.
So I think it's totally something that happens. I think the comments completely agree. But I guess it's also interesting to look at it from the manager perspective, what to do if you're a manager and someone cries. Have you ever been in that scenario yourself?
Nobody's ever cried in front of me, but I've had direct reports of people who reported to managers in my reporting line cry, and my reaction is always to take that quite seriously because I think, okay, I'm only hearing one side of the story. I wasn't in the room when the crying happened. This is a pretty serious thing to focus on and understand better, because if someone feels comfortable enough to express their emotions, that's great. But if it's that, something really bad happened and that's why they're crying, we have to look into it.
No, completely. I think it's really interesting. There seems to be two kind of contesting points of advice here. One is managers should just, let it go, kind of ignore it, and then kind of more in line with what you're saying, hold a follow-up meeting, kind of feel out, level set how they're feeling and why they're expressing themselves that way.
I would probably, if it happened to me, just ask if they would like a minute and offer to step out in case they don't feel comfortable continuing to cry in front of me.
Fair, yeah.
And also sometimes you just can't have a very productive conversation after an emotional reaction like that.
Completely, yeah. I think someone mentioned actually hosting a follow-up meeting, on another day, maybe even a week later, to just check in once the emotions have kind of calmed down a little. But I'm so glad that an FGBer decided to talk about this because I agree. I think crying at work, it happens.
Yeah,
so
it seems like it's far from abnormal. There's lots of people, some of whom are commenting anonymously about some of the really specific situations that they had with people at work or not getting credit for their work. So it's totally understandable. And performance review season is really stressful.
Yeah.
Especially if you have it once a year. All the work that you've done, and you feel like you're being judged, so it's a tough time.
Completely. So, on a similar note, working on things, really kind of trying to stay on task, and leading up especially to the holidays where there's so much going on, you're working on so many different things. We had a really great post in a Fairygodboss group called Burnout Survival about routines for feeling energized and productive, even under tight deadlines when things are really busy. So a user named Basically Share said, "Hi FGBers, I'm curious if your advice out there has to do with making lists and time blocking your calendar. But if I have every minute of my day mapped out, that can leave me feeling drained and uninspired. How do you stay productive in a balanced way?"
First of all, I love that there's a group called Burnout Survival,
Right.
and it's so real. And I also love that her name is Basically Share. Not technically Share, but Basically Share.
Close enough, right? If I could even be Basically Share, I'd be pretty happy. So.
And she's pretty self-aware. It's interesting that she knows that like common ways of addressing burnout are just to schedule time for yourself, but there's such a thing as overscheduling, right? And I do live in my calendar, so I really relate to that idea, but I certainly don't schedule my weekends. I don't schedule my evenings if I don't have an event. What about you? Do you pay a lot of attention to your calendar in terms of managing your busy life in the holidays season?
Yeah, so for my work day, I feel like I really lean heavily on my Google Calendar, but I feel like I really relate to Basically Share, where if I do try to time block other things, I feel, like I'm just doing the daily grind. So I really kind of like to keep a running list of things I like to do or want to do each day, and then decide when I wanted to do them later, so I can kind of go with my mood or what's going on.
I mean, I think burnout is so multidimensional. I don't particularly relate to that term, but whenever I feel like I'm not being my best self, I think about the really, really basic things like sleep, like whether I'm eating well, whether I've had enough water for the day. It sounds so basic, but sometimes when you are trying to do a lot of things, stuff like that goes out the window. And I always look at myself as like a geeky thing to say, but like I'm hardware, and I have to like keep the machine running. So maybe I just need to go for a 30-minute walk or a run.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised when you're so busy, like how those things are kind of the first things to go, but you can really improve your mood. I'm like that. Anytime I'm like upset or something, I'm like, did I drink water today? So kind of taking care of things.
Let's see what Barb has like this amazing response about how she only checks her emails every few hours and not all the time, and how she has this filing system for her emails. Do now, do later, and delete, which I sort of love.
Interesting.
Do now is about dealing with emails immediately and quickly, and do later, it's hard in text messages. It's really hard to know, when to like put that away and how much that's contributing to a feeling of burnout.
I completely agree. Yeah, I think that it can be difficult to feel completely unplugged from work, so giving yourself time and space, or even, reminding yourself, oh, I'll check my email tomorrow, like Barb kind of does with this calendar idea, is good, because I think it's partially the actual physical notifications popping up, but it's also partially this constant in your head, of, oh, has an email come up, so just setting some time in your calendar, do it tomorrow, and really kind of even plugging into your calendar, relax, don't check your email. Could be helpful.
Right. I realized that checking email right before I go to sleep is like a big problem for me. So I stop looking at email like an hour before I go to bed. But I just recently picked up that it just was like, physically I needed to like get away from devices before bedtime.
That's a really smart idea, yeah. Then you aren't thinking about work, like who wants to be just laying in bed thinking about work? And can kind of put those thoughts away for the day, do something nicer. I realized that when I wake up, the first thing I do is check my phone, which is probably a bad thing, so kind of the opposite.
I used to do that too, but now I just put it in a different room and you can't do that. But I know that that's like can be, people want to keep their phones nearby in case like they need to make an emergency call. But I've just put it away into a different room, and then that's like completely separated me from my device in the morning and at night.
Really nice. And then you don't have to hear the iPhone like meh.
Oh, you sleep with that on?
I do use the iPhone alarm clock, but I try to like cycle through the different alarm tones, and now they're all just annoying to me. So I'm really running out of options. I need to get an actual like standard alarm clock, but that would help me, adopt your tip.
Okay, on to the next topic. We have a post from Angie Lopez. And it's also in keeping with the holiday theme. She's looking for new and meaningful holiday traditions to start at home. She says that she truly loves this time of year, spending time with family, watching Christmas movies, and reflecting on a year behind me. For the last couple of years, she's been feeling that Christmas magic threatened by all the little consumerism at play. My husband and I are getting ready to start a family, and I'm excited to introduce some holiday traditions that will keep us connected to a spirit of giving, family, and reflecting. Would love to hear ideas, and she says, I was raised Catholic for what it's worth, but my husband was raised Jewish. We are pretty much a secular household. And all of these people weighed in.
Yeah, a lot of really unique, very cool traditions in the comments. I feel like a lot of them in the kitchen, you know, baking with your family or creating meals. When I think of the holiday time, I always think of the kitchen, baking cookies with my parents.
And someone anonymous posted that a cookie swap is fun.
It's a great idea.
You do it at work with neighbors or at home. And if you have kids, they'll enjoy having the variety of cookies and probably also making them. I actually just bought like these plates from a craft store where you can insert paper drawings in the middle. They're already like cut out in the circular shape. And I was thinking my kids could bake cookies and give them to their classmates and teachers this season. But if they like it, then we'll continue. But this is the first year of that tradition, speaking of cookies.
Very cool. So they can actually design the plate.
Yeah, there's like an insert of paper that you put between the two plastic layers, I guess.
That is so fun. I saw something else that I thought was really interesting about instead of making cookies, making soap, which I think is really fun. So like getting a mold or whatever in a fun holiday shape and pouring soap and distributing that as a gift. I thought that was really
So you get rid of, you can deal with shopping and have like a nice communal activity.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that there's a lot of consumerism. It was just Cyber Monday yesterday, and I was online shopping.
I got so many emails, and all with like a different cute reindeer emoji or something. So I was like, oh, I have to click that, you know?
Did you?
But,
did you buy things yesterday?
Oh, completely. Yeah. But it's definitely taken a toll on the holidays. It's fascinating.
I think particularly if you have a lot of family, it can feel like very overwhelming. And so one of the things that we started doing with my extended family is just picking one present and doing a secret Santa instead of everybody having to buy like 20 presents.
That's a great idea.
So that's one way of, I don't know if it doesn't entirely get rid of consumerism, but it limits how many presents everyone has to buy. And it can make every present a little bit more meaningful.
Yeah, and it kind of gamifies it too. You know, you all get to watch each other open something.
Did you have any family traditions growing up?
Yeah, family traditions, definitely, you know, decorating the tree together, baking cookies. My parents would always insist that we bake cookies for the entire block.
Oh,
and
wow.
my brothers would take them around to our neighbors. So that was really valuable too. You know, that's not really someone, obviously growing up in the suburbs, like in, you know, the 2000s, not necessarily some people I ran into every day or like interacted with every day, but it was really great for the holiday spirit to kind of do that as a family.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And I'm glad that, do you think that kids could start? It's interesting, like I don't think I would feel comfortable sending my children outside to knock on strangers' doors and they would like arrest me for letting my kids do that.
Yeah, it's the whole bike issue. How far can your kids go on their bike before you gotta call them home?
Right.
Totally.
But I did, you know, it's interesting, she says that she wants to prepare for having kids. Like, she doesn't have kids yet, but she's already thinking about what traditions that her children should partake in. I don't know that I was ever that forward thinking, but it's a theme in our community to think and plan ahead like that. Whether it's for your career or what's going to change when I have kids, you know, not just at work, but even at home, like holiday traditions. It's so interesting that I think women can be different than men in that way. I doubt there'd be that many men thinking about like holiday traditions for kids, like even before they have them. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. No, I think that's so great. That women, and they're asking for advice too. They're not just forward thinking, they're actively, you know, taking a step to kind of figure out what's best. And yeah, exactly. So I think it shows a lot of
forward thinking,
yeah, and planning. So,
well, that's our food for thought for the week. I hope I'm getting really hungry for cookies now that we've had all this chat about
Yeah,
cookies.
seriously, we might have to go.
Thanks
go
for
around
joining
the
us for
corner.
lunch, everyone, and see you next week.
Yes, we'll see you 2 weeks from now, same time, and you can find the links to the posts that we've been discussing in the comment section. We would love to have you weigh in. Thank you so much for joining us for lunch.